Hi, welcome to YouTube channel My Intuition 4865. My Intuition 4865 is YouTube channel mainly for the general study materials like environmental studies, innovation and design thinking, scientific foundation of health, renewable energy resources, biology for engineers, research methodology and IPR. Now Indian knowledge system. Okay, so now physics, chemistry, everything is come. Okay, now module 4 of the environmental studies for non-computer science stream or non-computer science branch students of VTU, Visheshwara Technological University affiliated colleges. Moving to the module 4, global environmental issues. Global environmental issues. First point, that is global environmental concerns. Global environmental concerns, they are very critical issues which will affect the ecosystem and human health worldwide. We'll see the first point, that is groundwater depletion and recharge. Groundwater, it is the water which is stored under the surface in soil, in rocks. So it is very important source of drinking water for drinking, as well as for farming and in the end for the industries. So what is this global groundwater depletion means? When too much of groundwater is used without giving it time to refill, then it's called as depletion. So it happens in many places where water is pumped out faster than it can naturally recharge. So what is this groundwater recharge? Groundwater recharge, it is a process of refilling the groundwater. It happens when the rainwater seeps into the ground and gets stored in underground layers. So this process will help to maintain the water levels. Impacts of this groundwater depletion: impact water scarcity, land subsidence, and diseased agriculture productivity. Okay, so water scarcity, that is not enough water for drinking or farming. Many areas they face drought due to a lack of the groundwater, and the land subsidence means the ground sinks when too much water is taken out. So creates a air gap. Water is removed, air gap is formed. So the soil may sink, sit down. Okay, so causing damage to the building and roads and the pipelines. Even a lower crop yields. Farmers, they cannot grow enough food because there is not enough water for irrigation. Now the policies and the measures. Policies and measures like water management policies. Uh, Water management policies, mainly the rainwater harvesting, that is collecting rainwater and storing it for the later use. Then conservation practices like using water carefully to avoid waste. Sustainable irrigation using the efficient methods like drip irrigation, which uses very less water. Then groundwater regulations in areas where water level are very low. Rules are made to stop people from taking out too much of water. That is groundwater regulations. Recharge initiatives like artificial recharge zones, that is building structures like ponds or recharge wells to help the rainwater to soak into the ground, and improving the soil permeability, making the soil more absorbent, so rainwater can seep into inside very fast. Now the case study: India water crisis. India faced a series of a serious groundwater problem, especially in the states like Punjab and Haryana, which they used a lot of water for farming. So the groundwater level in these states they dropped very quickly because of this excessive withdrawal of water for a crop like the wheat, mainly wheat and rice. So in order to address this issue, the government has started a program called the Atal Bhujan Yojana, and this Atal Bhujan Yojana, it focused on the community participation as well as improved farming practices. Community participation is encouraging the local people to work together to manage the water resources, and the improving farming practices like the teaching the farmer to use the water saving methods like crop rotation, drip irrigation. Those are the practices which are implemented with the Atal Bhujan Yojana. Okay, now climate change. The concept is, or what is climate change? It is the long-term changes in the Earth's weather patterns, and the temperature. It happens slowly, actually, over many years or even centuries. So this is the main cause of the main cause of climate change is human activity, especially burning the fossil fuels like coal or oil, the gases. This releases the greenhouse gases, mainly the carbon dioxide, into the air, and these gases trap the heat from the sun, making the earth uh, warmer. Okay, so cutting down the trees, called the deforestation, it also makes the problem worse, because trees are capable of absorbing the carbon dioxide during the process called photosynthesis. Now, impact of climate change, uh, extreme weather events. The climate change leads to more extreme weather, which means that more storms, more drought, more flood. Okay, storms, strong wind, heavy rain, flooding. Drought means long periods without rain, causing water storage. Flood, more rain leading to water overflowing from rivers or lakes, damaging the homes and farms. These are the impact of climate change. Then rising the sea level. As the earth is getting warmed or more warm, the glaciers or the large mass of ice in the polar regions and the ice caps in the Arctic, they are melting, and this adds more water to the ocean. It causes the sea level to rise, and it is flooding the coastal areas every year. Step by step, the water level is increasing. It's affecting the people who are living in the nearby the seashore. Then biodiversity loss means all different species of plants and animals on the earth. As the climate changes, many species, they are, as per the Darwin's theory, only fit will survive. They are not fit to uh, this climate change. Actually, climate change was not required. Humans made that. It's not that naturally happened. Humans created it. Therefore, we cannot say that Darwin's theory here. So keep it aside. Okay, so make sure that all these species should survive. Now we made them hard to survive. Okay, so if animals and plants cannot adapt to the new conditions, they may die. So which reduces the variety of life in Earth. Then public health. Some of the variety of the plant, we love them and we don't want them to be extinct. Therefore, we have to take some actions now only. Okay, so climate change also affects the human health. For example, the heat-related illness. Hotter the temperature can cause people to suffer from heat stroke. or dehydration. Even it causes the spread of warmer temperature health diseases like malaria or dengue fever to spread to new areas where they were not common before. Now the policies or the measures in order to fight the climate changes are mentioned here. That is to reduce the climate change in many countries. They have made agreements and set a goal to lower the emissions and to protect the environment. One is that Paris Agreement, which happened in 2015, which is actually an international treaty. Nearly almost all countries in the world, they agreed to work together in order to reduce the greenhouse gas emission. And the goal is to limit the global warming below 2 degrees Celsius compared to the temperature in the pre-industrial time. So by doing this, we can prevent some of the worst effect of climate change. Second one mentioned here is the NDCs, National Determined Contributions. That means each country has set its own target for reducing the greenhouse gas emissions. These are called the nationally determined contributions. Countries will report their progress and make efforts to reach these goals. Promoting the renewable energy is another method or policy or measure. One way to fight the climate change is by switching to the renewable energy or renewable energy sources like the solar, the wind, the hydropower, which produces cleaner energy without adding harmful gases to the air. So each will help to reduce the carbon emissions. The case studies, that is in the 2021, the world leaders meet or they met in a conference called COP26, which has happened in Glasgow, that is Scotland. Okay, COP stands for Conference of Parties, and it is a meeting where the countries discuss how to fight the climate change. The countries made stronger promises to reduce their emissions. More money was pledged to help the poorer countries to adapt to climate change and recover from its impact. Next one is acid rain. Acid rain, it is the rain that is more acidic than normal. It forms when the sulfur dioxide SO2 and the nitrogen oxides of nitrogen NOx, they are released into air. So these gases, they come from factories, power plants, vehicles, and these gases mix with the water vapor, moisture in the air. Sulfur dioxide mixes with the moisture water to become sulfuric acid. Nitrogen oxide mixes with the moisture H2O to become nitric acid. So like that become acidic. The water become acidic, and this acid can fall to the earth as rain or as snow, fog, even as dust. This all together called acid rain. Now the impact of acid rain. Acid rain can cause many problems for the environment, even to the people and even for the building. We see how it will harm the world around. First point, that is soil acidification. The acid rain, it makes the soil more acidic, which lowers the soil's pH value, and this is bad for plants because most plants they need a soil to be in a certain pH range in order to grow well. So the acids also harm the soil organisms like the worms or insects, which will help to keep the soil healthy. it will damage the water body. uh, Acid rain, like the lakes, rivers, the streams, the water becomes more acidic, and it is harmful for the fish, the plants in the water, or to the aquatic life, because these cannot live in acidic water. So it also damages the ecosystem, which depends on the uh, either clean water or neutral water. The monuments or buildings erosion, or old structures, the acid rain, it corrodes or it wear down the surfaces, especially those structures or monuments which are made from limestone or marble, and famous buildings and statues, and such as those made from marbles can lose their appearance and strength because of acid rain. Now, policies and measures: emission reduction standards, clean air acts, promotion of clean energy. Emission reduction standard, these are the rules which limit how much sulfur dioxide and the oxides of nitrogen can be released by the things like the factories or power plants or even the vehicles, cars. So by reducing these emissions, we can prevent the acid rain from forming the acid rain in the first place. Then Clean Air Act, many countries they have laws called the Clean Air Act, that is its aim to reduce the air pollution. So these laws, it focuses on lowering the emissions of harmful gases which causes acid rain, helping to protect the environment. Promotion of clean energy, one of the best way to stop acid rain is by using the cleaner energy resources like solar power plants, wind power plants, hydro power plants. So these sources, they do not produce harmful gases like SO2 or NOx, and it will not, and which leads to the acid rain. So making them much better for the environment. Case study. Okay, acid rain case study, that acid rain happened in the northeastern United States of America. In the northeastern United States, acid rain became a big problem. This is because many factories and the power plants in that area were releasing a very large amount of sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide into the air, and these gases, it mixed with the moisture and moisture in the atmosphere, and the acid rain began to fall, harming the environment. Then they had implemented the Clean Air Act. They had amended in 1990 to reduce the amount of sulfur dioxide released into the air, and they tried to control the pollution by giving strict rules to the power plants. And as a result, the acid rain became a less problem now, and the environment began to recover. Now comes the ozone depletion. Ozone means the ozone depletion means the thinning or reducing the thickness of the ozone layer in the stratosphere, Earth stratosphere. The ozone layer is very important because it absorbs most of the harmful ultraviolet rays coming straight from the sunlight. Ultraviolet rays are filtered there, and only the normal required sunlight we are getting. So if this ultraviolet radiation also reaches, they are very dangerous for us. We are not adjusted to the ultraviolet rays. So the ozone layer protects all the living things on the earth from its harmful effects of the UV rays. So ozone depletion happens mainly because of chemicals like chlorofluorocarbons, that is called as CFCs. These chemicals, they are used in the products like the aerosol sprays, in the refrigerants, or air conditioning. So when chlorofluorocarbons are released into air, they rise up into the atmosphere, reach to the ozone layer, it reacts with the O3, the ozone molecules, and O3 molecules are disrupted. O3 molecules are not there, means ozone layer is not there. So this is what happening. Now the impact of ozone depletion. The ozone depletion, it increased the ultraviolet exposure. Means when the ozone layer gets thinner, more ultraviolet radiation from the sun it is reaching the earth, which can cause health problems for humans like the skin cancer or the cataract, blindness, or weakening the immune system of human body. It can damage the ecosystem, mainly the marine ecosystem, because tiny ocean creatures like the planktons are very sensitive to UV rays. So the plankton, it is a food for the many sea mammals, and if plankton is harmed, the sea animals will die, and the whole food chain in the ocean will be disrupted, and it will affect the marine ecosystem and also affect the people living in the land also. So the agricultural effects is another one. Some plants and some crops, they are very sensitive to UV radiation. If the ozone layer is thinner, crops may not grow well, which lead to the reduced crop yield or less production of food. So this is very harmful for agriculture and food supplies. Now, which are the policies and measures? Montreal Protocol, hydrofluorocarbon as alternative, public awareness campaigns are the points which is mentioned here. The Montreal Protocol, it is an international treaty that was signed in 1987 by many countries. So this agreement, it aims to ban or to reduce the production and use of chemicals like chlorofluorocarbons, which is damaging the ozone layer. So the protocol has been very successful in reducing the amount of ozone depleting substances in the atmosphere, using hydrofluorocarbons as an alternative instead of chlorofluorocarbons, because hydrofluorocarbons has little or no effect on ozone layer. So these alternatives will help to protect the ozone layer while still meeting the needs of the cooling or refrigeration, those applications. Now the public awareness campaigns is also a part of the policy. People need to understand the importance of the ozone layer, and they should know how to protect it. So many governments and many organizations, they run the public awareness campaign to teach the people about the dangers of ozone depletion, and they encourage them to avoid the products which are harm to the ozone layer. The case study, that is not other than the Antarctic ozone hole, the ozone hole. Okay, that is one of the famous example for ozone depletion in Antarctica. This hole, it forms every year during the spring in the southern hemisphere. It happened because chemicals like chlorofluorocarbon it break down the ozone layer over the region. So since Montreal Protocol, there has been really good progress in healing the ozone layer. Now the ozone layer is started recovering, but it is expected to take a long time. So experts says that the ozone layer over Antarctica will not fully heal until around the middle of the century. Okay, now the radon and fluoride problem in drinking water. What is happening? Okay, some technical issues. Okay, radon and fluoride problem in drinking water. I was not able to see that display. Now I can see. Okay, so uh, radon and fluoride, these two substances, it can affect our health, and it is important to understand them and how we can deal with their presence in water. What is radon? Radon, it is a radioactive gas that occurs naturally in the ground. It is produced when certain elements in the soil and the rock, when they break down, radon is released. So radon is present in small amount in the air and in the groundwater. So it can seep into water and underground sources. Radon is dangerous because it is radioactive. So when people drink water containing radon or breathe the air which containing the radon, it increases the risk of cancer, especially the lung cancer. So it is very important to note that radon cannot be seen, it cannot be tasted, it cannot be smelled. So it can be hard to know if it is in the water. What is fluoride? Fluoride is a mineral that is often added to drinking water to help prevent tooth decay. It helps make teeth stronger and less likely to develop cavities in teeth in small amounts. If it is used in small amount, it is very good for the dental health. However, if there is too much fluoride in the water, it can cause severe problems like dental fluorosis, skeletal fluorosis. Dental fluorosis means when too much fluorine is intake is the teeth become discolored with a white or brown spot appearing on teeth, and in severe cases it can damage the teeth and making them look uneven or chipped cases. That is only look wise difficult, whereas the skeletal fluorosis, it happens with the fluorine content attacking the bones or build up in a bone, making the bone weaker and more brittle. It can also cause joint pains and stiffness. So the impact of radon and fluoride, both radon and fluoride can cause serious health problems if the levels are too high in drinking water. The health risk with radon is only lung cancer, already mentioned, and with the fluoride, it is dental fluorosis and skeletal fluorosis. Long-term exposure, only it is it's a severe problem if it is exposed for a long time for a high concentrated one. Now the policies and the measures to deal with the radon and the fluoride: water testing and filtration, then setting safe limits. Water setting and filtration, that is testing the water for radon and fluoride in regular fashion, or to so that the if more fluoride is the filtration system can be used to remove it. Setting safe limit means the World Health or WHO and the local health authorities, they set safe limit for the amount of radon and fluoride in drinking water. Once it crosses, immediately measures are taken, and community awareness, educating the community programs are also conducted. Case study, that is fluoride in India, fluoride safe drinking water project, that is in especially the places like Rajasthan, Gujarat, where the groundwater contains high levels of fluoride. Though they have fluorosis, dental and skeletal fluorosis, and the government started fluoride safe drinking water projects. So these projects help provide clean water with safe levels of fluoride to affect communities. Additionally, the public health campaigns, it have been launched to educate the people about the risk of fluoride and how to protect themselves. Next point, that is resettlement and rehabilitation of people. Today we talk about the resettlement and rehabilitation, which is also known as R&R. This is very important process, and people are moved from one place to another and given the necessary support to help them to adjust to their new life. Resettlement and rehabilitation are needed when people are forced to leave their home because of thinking the big infrastructure projects, of thinking about the natural disasters, or thinking about the environmental problems. When the infrastructure projects such as building dams, building roads, or building factories are started, or when the natural disasters like a flood or earthquakes occur, people may be forced to leave their homes, and they are displaced because of their homes, their land and resources and no longer available for, or they are not safe for them. Resettlement, it is a process of moving people to a new place, and rehabilitation means helping them adjust to their new lives. So this involves providing them with the things which they need, like the house, food, job, education, to help them recover from the losses of their homes. The impacts of uh, displacement, many impacts are there, like loss of livelihoods, social disruption, psychological impacts. Loss of livelihood, when people are displaced, they often lose their jobs or their ability to earn money. So, for example, if a person was a farmer on a land, now if he is taken for a project, they will no longer have the access to that land. Means that the source of income, they have to find a new way to make a living. Second point, that is social disruption. The displacement, it can also cause this social disruption. People may be separated from their families, separated from their friends and the communities they have, to whom which they lived for many years. So this can be very difficult to lose the support system which help them in their daily lives. So the new place, it might also be very different from what they were used to, and making it very hard for them to adjust. The psychological impact is other one, important one, because the process of moving or losing everything familiar, it can cause stress or the trauma. People may feel sadness or anger or anxiety about what will happen to their life. So it can be very difficult to cope up with these emotions, especially when people do not have support they needed. Policies and measures. Right to fair compensation and transparency in Land Acquisition Act. This law, and it ensures that the people who lose their land because of some of the government projects or major projects and property, or they lose their property, they should be paid fairly. It makes sure that people are given enough money to buy new land or to start a new life. It also requires that the process to be transparent, means that everything is done openly and honestly. Second, the social impact assessment, the SIS. Before the project starts only, the government or the company will have to do or will do the social impact assessment. So this is an evaluation which looks at how the project will affect the people, the living areas. So it will help to understand the problems caused by the displacement and finding way to reduce the harm. So the goal is to make sure that the people who are displaced are not hurt by by the change. Third one, that is support programs. Once people are resettled, they need help to adjust to their new lives. So government and organization, they provide the support programs, which includes the livelihood training, housing, healthcare, teaching the people new skills to help them find job is livelihood training. Providing safe and secure homes is housing. Making sure that people have access to medical care, uh, and the programs help people build a better life after they are displaced, that is healthcare. Case study, that is one of the important one, Narmada Valley project in India. Why this PDF is not moving? Oh, some technical issues, I think. Okay, Narmada Dam project, something is stuck. Okay, I'll continue. The Narmada uh, Dam project. Okay, now it's working. Okay, the Narmada, one of the very important example of large resettlement and rehabilitation project occurred in India is the Narmada Valley project. Narmada, this project, it involved building a very big dam on the Narmada river in the central India. So the dam was built in order to provide water for irrigation, for the hydroelectric power, as well as for the flood control. However, the project displaced many people who lived in the area where the dam was being built. So thousands of families were forced to leave their homes and lands, which led to the protest by people who felt that they were not being treated fairly. So one of the most famous protests was led by the Narmada Bachao Andolan. It was very famous during that time, a movement which fought for the right of displaced people. So the movement, it demanded that the government should provide a fair compensation and ensure that proper rehabilitation for the affected communities is done. So the Narmada project, it is an example of how large development project can have severe impacts on people's life. So it shows the importance of making sure that when people are displaced, they are properly supported to rebuild their lives. Last topic, that is environmental toxicology. Environmental toxicology, this is a study of how chemicals in our environment, it can affect the human health and the health of ecosystem, the natural system where the plants or animals or other living things, they will interact. That is called a ecosystem. So these chemicals, it can come from various sources, like the pesticides, or factory waste, or even waste which is not disposed properly. The environmental toxicology, it looks how the toxic substances which are harmful in the environment affecting the living things. They came from the pollution, the industrial activities, or agricultural. So by studying about these chemicals, the scientists are trying to understand how they can harm both humans and the nature. The presence of toxic chemicals can have serious effects on both humans and the environment. Some of them are given here, like human health, ecosystem damage, intergenerational effect. Human health, it can cause cancer, neurological disorders, or reproductive issues. Ecosystem damage, the toxic chemicals will affect the nature. It will affect the food chain, uh, which means that smaller animals eat the plants or other animals which have been contaminated by the toxins, and these toxins move up to in the food chain and become more concentrated in animals at the top of the chain, such as the eagles or the shark or other large predators. And this process is called bioaccumulation, and it can harm animals and reduce biodiversity, which means fewer different kinds of plants and animals in nature are affected. One of bioaccumulation examples forgot, I recall and tell. Okay, now third point, that is intergenerational effects. Toxic chemicals, they cannot only affect the people who are exposed to them, but also it affects the children, even the grandchildren, because the toxicity, it accumulates, called as bioaccumulates in our body, and even it causes the genetic mutations. The genes get mutated, the gene nature changes, which means they change the DNA for living things. So these changes can be passed down to future generation, causing long-term health problems. Now the policies and the measures which are taken, regulation on toxic substances, risk assessment, and public awareness. Okay, government around the world, they have created laws in order to reduce or limit the use of harmful chemicals like pesticides which are used in farming, or use of heavy metals like lead and mercury, and other industrial chemicals. Okay, so these regulations helped to ensure the toxic chemicals are not used in ways which can harm the people or the nature. The risk assessment, before allowing the new chemicals to be used in products like the food or the cleaning agents or industrial goods, the scientists, they conduct tests to see that these chemicals are harmful or not. This is called the risk assessment, and this risk assessment helps to make sure that dangerous substances are not released into the environment or used in everyday product. Other one is public awareness. We have to educate, and public awareness campaigns need to be conducted, and that is another way of controlling. One case study, that is the uh, Minamata disease. Minamata disease, that is found in Japan. It was one of the famous example of environmental toxicology. In 1950s and 1960s it happened. The mercury from the nearby industrial plant, it actually got released into the Minamata Bay, which is a large body of water. The mercury, it polluted the water and harmed the fish and the shellfish in the area. When the people used the contaminated fish, they become sick, and this disease, it caused neurological problems such as difficulty in walking, difficulty in speaking, difficulty in moving. So some people even died because of the poison. So the Minimator disease this case was very important because it showed how chemicals like mercury, it can be harmful to both people and environment, and it also led to stronger environmental laws in Japan and around the world, which help to prevent future disasters like this one. Oh, that about module 4. Module 4 is done. It was a lengthy video. So module 5 I will record separately. I needed break. I request you to share my video, YouTube video to others. The study material is available in the description box. Please to download it and use it. The objective questions, options and answers, separate videos for each module will be uploaded for referring. Thank you very much and have a